Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we'll be reading Deuteronomy chapter 7. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them from before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shew mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people, but because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondsmen, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him, he will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments, and the statutes, and the judgments, which I command thee this day, to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments, and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers, and he will love thee, and bless thee, and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy land, thy corn, and thy wine, and thine oil, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee, but will lay them upon all them that hate thee. And thou shalt consume all the people which the Lord thy God shall deliver thee. Thine eye shall have no pity upon them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto thee. If thou shalt say in thine heart, These nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shalt well remember what the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt, the great temptations which thine eyes saw, and the signs, and the wonders, and the mighty hand, and the stretched out arm, whereby the Lord thy God brought thee out. So shall the Lord thy God do unto all the people of whom thou art afraid. Moreover, the Lord thy God will send the hornet among them, until they that are left and hide themselves from thee be destroyed. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for the Lord thy God is among you, a mighty God and terrible. And the Lord thy God will put out those nations before thee by little and little. Thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto thee, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. And he shall deliver their kings into thine hand, and thou shalt destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before thee until thou have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thine house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it, but thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing. Summarizing Deuteronomy chapter 7. Moses is still talking to the second generation of Israel out of Egypt. We know in Numbers chapter 31 that Moses is going to die soon. And in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 22, he tells Israel that God told him that once they go into the promised land, he's going to have to go up into a mountain and die alone. I was convicted when I was reading this because, as you can see, some of the images that I've used since Deuteronomy chapter 1, Moses has been talking. I felt like this was boring because Moses just is just talking. And honestly, I flipped through the rest of the chapter. It's going to be a lot of rehashing the same things that we've already read. But the thing that I realized, Moses is getting ready to die. He is like, it's sort of like a grandfather. He's already messed up his opportunity to go into the promised land. Moses, he didn't believe that he was good enough to do this job. He was not socialized as a Hebrew, but he had such a loyalty to his people, even though they were slaves, even though they had nothing financially, they were a burden, they were irritating, they weren't good to him like they could have been. But Moses went down with the ship. He was loyal to his people, to his kind. He was socialized as an Egyptian. He didn't have to come back and help Israel. So he enlisted the help of his brother, which Aaron, he just wanted to help. But Aaron died. His sister Miriam died. Two of Aaron's sons died. And the last remaining son is not going to be anointed to be the next priest. It's going to be Joshua. We know Moses has been married twice. We don't even hear about his wife anymore. He's literally, after this, is going to go into a mountain and die by himself. So I it's like God impressed that on me when I was reading, like, hey, you need to stop thinking that just because it's taking a long time for you to understand something that it's useless, or let's just get through it so I can get to the next thing. Because honestly, I am thinking that way sometimes, because it's like, I've already rehashed this, and some of these laws are repetitive. It's being said multiple times in the same chapter, which we're going to see this. And then you're also seeing it repeated in the next chapter, in the next chapter. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer and just explain the humanity of what's going on with Moses and why it matters. Because this is a man who has spent his entire life leading his people. We don't even know anything else about his wife. He has children too. We don't even hear about them anymore, why they're not there. He spent his whole life leading these people, and then he's not even going to be able to go. And he only disobeyed God one time, or maybe not only one time, but it was because in Numbers 20, he hit the rock instead of speaking to it like God commanded. And even though he was a leader, even though he was sincere with God, that one mistake was severe enough to make God decide he wasn't ready for that, or that wasn't something he was going to get. And he was still the leader of Israel after that. So just want to point that out there. Uh, okay, so verses 1 through 6. Moses is instructing Israel because again, this is before he's going to die. So he's trying to give this second generation out of Egypt all the information they need to know to be successful. He survived the first generation, they've all died out. So now this is their children. So it's like his children, kind of. Oh, I think I've elaborated enough. Verses 1 through 6. You will encounter 7 groups of people. That's these ones named the Hittites, Girgashites. You will encounter 7 groups of people mightier than you. Destroy them completely, including their property. When we look at verse 5, again, we've talked about in the last couple of chapters the images. I read from the King James Version. Images is mentioned twice. There's something when it comes to us humans about images, we have to be careful about what we're looking at. And it makes me think about porn. And I don't think I'm obsessed with anything, but just reading this over and over again. And then we know how severely porn has messed with our society in addition to social media. And it's like all because of what we see, and images, you know, I looked it up. You see how many, all of these, all of this information underneath the word encompasses everything that's underneath it. So, likeness, a picture, a optical counterpart, a mental picture, impression, idea, semblance, incarnation, figure of speech. So, because image means so many things in a society, in a culture, because Israel is a previously enslaved group of people, they don't have their own identity. So, it's easy. If images is something that is easy to draw people away from God anyway, it would be easier for people who don't have an identity, no established culture. They're fragile, which is why God wants to give them a kingdom. So Moses is telling Israel what God told him. When you encounter the people, when God tells you to destroy the group of people, destroy them and destroy everything about them. Everything. You are a holy people chosen over all others. God chose you because he loves you and he kept an oath with your ancestors and redeemed you from Pharaoh. Remember, he is your Lord. The covenant with him is valid for 1,000 generations, but only if Israel keeps his commandments. God will directly repay those that hate him. Keep these laws. God will be faithful and bless your offspring, your land, your cattle, your animals. You will be fertile. None of the plagues in Egypt will be visited on Israel, only those who hate Israel. Destroy the people that God tells you to when he tells you to do it, and don't hesitate. God will give you favor. He will deliver you from those you fear the same way he did in Egypt. God will slowly remove your adversaries so that the animals of the land will not outnumber you, and God will give you favor over them. That's verses 22 through 24. I apologize. Verses 25 through 26. Burn down their graven images. Again, images. It's that important. Don't desire or take their silver or gold. And I think that can be translated into money. Don't envy these people's money. Don't take their money. So all money isn't good money. And there's something about this image we need to be careful about. Taking their money is a snare. And a snare is an attractive deception. Deceptively attractive. Okay. And then it also says in verses 25 through 26, these things, the carved images, the silver, the gold, any of their things is an abomination, and don't bring it to your house. So, highlights that I just want to mention again. Moses is going to die by the end of this chapter. This is a lot of repetition. Also, the other thing that I thought of when God was convicting me, and you need to have the right attitude about reading my word, not trying to get through it because you think this is boring because it's repetitive. Take it seriously. That's what he told me. I'm not taking it seriously enough, and he's right. I'm not. I'm irritated that it's repetitive over and over again. But you think about it, this man is about to die. Maybe he is stalling some. You think about it. His wife is gone. He hasn't talked about his wife. We haven't heard any more about either one of Moses' wives or his children. His brother is gone. His sister is gone. All of this hard stuff that he had to do. And for one mistake, he's not going to go into the promised land. And he's still, even after God told him that and told him you're going to die and anoint your successor, he still honored God and followed what God said with a good heart. And he's still not, God still isn't going to forgive him. It was that severe disobeying God like that. And he's the leader. So that's a message in itself. That's something my mom said. She told me, he's that's what my mom said. It was that severe, even though he was a leader. The leader got one chance. Israel got a few chances. Moses got one chance. And maybe he is stalling. Maybe he is taking a long time because he's like, I'm going to die after this. And once this generation gets on their own, if they get in trouble, they can't go to Moses to intercess for him anymore. Now they got Joshua, and Joshua has the right attitude, but he's young. He's not Moses. He's got to grow into being what Moses is. So there's similar and repetitive information. When we look at verses 2 and verse 16, that's similar. Verses 5 and verse 25, verses 9 and verses 12, verses 18 and verses 21. So that's all that I have. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Have a wonderful day.